Prof. Corey, and good morning to everyone. Let me first start by wishing all of you, we're almost at the end of the month, but it's still Women's Month. So I'd like to wish you all a happy Women's Month. And I also see a few men in the room, so thank you for being here. We need you. So it's, Corey, you said it, it's also my pleasure to welcome you to this event today, and to thank GECO, to thank the Center for Mediation in Africa at UP, and to thank UN Women for being such great partners to Switzerland. And I'm really delighted to share the opening words with UN Women today. I'm sure no one in this room, and I think far beyond, believes that men only can make peace in this world, right? But so where are the women in conflict mediation? And this is the question that our panelists will address today. And we all know that this question is probably as complex as it can get. But it is fundamental that we do address this question. We know in New York, it's addressed a lot of times, in Geneva, but you also need to address it in Pretoria, on the continent, and everywhere in the world. And it's also important that we do share experiences. And there is one experience that I'd like to share with you, and an experience that kind of woke up my own conscience about women, peace, and security. It was in 2005 in Bosnia and Herzegovina, that's in the European Balkans. I did just enter the diplomatic service, and I was in Sarajevo attending the celebration to mark the 10 years of the signing of the Dayton Peace Agreement. Many of you know it's the agreement that did mark the end of the war in Bosnia in 1995. It was a big celebration, and all personalities who were involved in the negotiation, who sat at the negotiation tables or in any way contributed to it, to this peace agreement, they were there. They were sitting on the stage. They were sitting in the front row. But guess what? There was no woman. And it was clear that during the negotiations of the peace agreement, and during the whole process that preceded the signing, not a single woman participated in those negotiations, whether it's as mediator, as contributor, as witness, or even as a member of one of those negotiations team. So in Dayton, when the peace agreement was negotiated, the space at the negotiation table was open to men who had the power of armed forces behind them. And women were, as it is commonly the case in the narrative of war, they were portrayed as victims. They were, and it's kind of taking away their agency and leaving them voiceless in the reconstruction of their country. But yet, I did meet a lot of Bosnian women, and they were really struggling to get their voice heard, and they wanted to shape their own future. So it was clear to me that the women had the strength, the perspective, the connection, and the wisdom that was actually so badly needed for an agreement like Dayton to really have its impact and to achieve its aim, which was the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Bosnia. And those who follow the situation in Bosnia, we know we're not much further than we were 10 or 20 years ago. And it's been 17 years since that. And I think we cannot say that nothing has happened. I think that a lot has happened in 17 years, at least in terms of awareness raising. Nowadays, when we see only men at a negotiation table, it's not really politically correct. It's still there. But I think the consciousness is much more than it was then. And also, there was a huge effort to train women as negotiators. But what often happens now is that when a woman is at a table, her role is to talk about women's issues. What I wanted to say as well is that when we look at the current war that is all over the media, the war between Ukraine and Russia, and we look at, who plays a role in that conflict, I'm not sure about you, but I didn't see any women really playing a role in that particular conflict. And that's just a reality we live in. A reality in which male leadership is just the norm. And it's the case in Switzerland, it's the case in South Africa, and I think in most of the countries in the world. And just one statistic that maybe reflect what I'm saying, in 2021, at the high-level segment of the UN General Assembly, it's taking place every November, when all the head of states are speaking at the UN General Assembly. In 2021, there were 18 women who spoke out of 194 president, vice president, foreign minister who spoke at the tribune. And I think that really reflects and has probably an influence on why women are not sitting at the table. So the resolution 1325, the WPS agenda, has been adopted 22 years ago, but it really remains very, very important. And one must say that WPS is one of the most established thematic issue at the UN Security Council. And as Cory said, this year, 2022, Switzerland and South Africa are co-chairing the focal point network of WPS. And I must say as well, a UN woman is assuming the secretariat of that particular network. So happy to have you with us today. So let me say that by taking this task of co-chairing that network together, Switzerland and South Africa, one of our main goals was to foster the South-North cooperation in terms of our peace and security agenda, and to really try to make a contribution to the advancements of the agenda in Africa, in Europe, and everywhere else. The resolution 1325 and the co-chairship with South Africa will be a top priority of Switzerland's tenure in the Security Council in 23 and 24. Switzerland has been elected for the first time in the Security Council last June. I must say that it's been, this year we also celebrate the 20 years of Switzerland being a member of the UN. So it will be a first for us. And we will try, as an elected member, to advance human rights and women's rights, and to connect it to the very long tradition of Switzerland in conflict mediation worldwide. So our event today is a follow-up of the Focal Point Network conference that took place last May in Geneva, and we very much hope, and I look to Ntabi Singh, that it will be a prelude to the conference on women, peace and security that we hope will take place still this year in Pretoria. One of the key outcomes of the conference in Geneva was precisely the question that we are addressing today, which is the gap between the institutional framework and its implementation. So how do we make sure that women sit at the table? But personally, I think even more important, that they have an influence on the outcome of peace negotiations. So I'd like to thank you again for being with us today on this beautiful campus. I was just chatting with Prof. Schumann, and it's just a place where we want to brainstorm, where we want to create new things. So I hope you're in the same mood like we are today. And a last word to address my gratitude to my team. Maybe you stand up. Fanny, Shireen, Audrey. Where is Audrey? Okay, and Lisa. Thank you very much. You did a great job. And I also would like to extend my gratitude to Cory and your team for having put this event together. So thank you, and I hope you do enjoy. Thanks.